Rap Radio. Raw and uncut.
Cubo and welcome to Chicano Rap Radio. I'm your homie Snipes holding it down, and today we have little Chino of SSOL in the house. So without further ado, let's welcome the homeboy to the show. What's up, Chino? How you doing, homie?
What's up, G? Doing good, dog. Glad to be here, homie.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate you making the time to join us. I think you have a lot of fans out there that are looking forward to this interview. And, you know, even though they know a lot about your history, there's also a lot of fans out there or new fans that want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me a little bit more about Little Chino, who you are and how you got into the music.
So Little Chino, the name just basically comes from, just a couple of the homeboys from town. My older brother, his name was Chino, so they, naturally nicknamed me Little Chino.
Yeah.
Kind of went from there. Back in the day, I started making music roughly around 1999.
How old were you?
How old was I when I started?
Yeah.
About 17.
Okay.
Yeah, about 17 around there. So going back to my brother, kind of getting that nickname from him. So my brother had this friend. His name was Beeps. Everybody in town knows Beeps.
Yeah. If you're from Fillmore and
Fillmore,
Little Chino's representing out of Fillmore, California.
Yes, sir.
That's
so
right.
So if you're from Fillmore, you know who Beeps is, man. Jay Kings, he's the guy that brought music into this town right here. Yeah. So I knew him since I was a youngster. He started recording music way back in the day. Started engineering and stuff like that. And then just the dudes that I, hung out with and ran with, they were doing music with them at the time. So just naturally, it just kind of, we linked up and started from there. I've always been a fan of music since I was a youngster. Like I've always had that ability to listen to a song even since I was a little kid and memorize the lyrics. Listen to it a few times and, I could recite the whole song, So I always felt a connection with music. So naturally, it was kind of went hand in hand to start.
What kind of music did you grow up, or what kind of music you think had an influence on your sound?
It was 80s R&B, West Coast music, of course, all the 90s stuff, soul music, funk, oldies. I grew up listening to all of that. I just gravitated towards it. It just kind of went in hand, and it plays into a lot of the music that we make nowadays as well, because a lot of our music is old school based, funk based. It's what we love here in this area, and it's kind of what we like to put out, and
West
so
Coast
far
G-funk,
so good. West Coast
sure.
G-funk, yeah, for sure. The G-funk that came, the twist into the G-funk kind of came a little bit down the line, but it kind of fit, man. It fit our style, and I've been able to find a way to incorporate all those sounds and still keep it, the original Smooth Styles Alive SSOL sound, the original, Street Hustle Record sound, integrating oldies, funk, old school, G-funk. It just fits well with us.
Yeah. And you've done a really good job of like you mentioned, blending all the sounds and coming up with something new. And I think, when, I'll shout out to Jay Kings, AKA Beeps, by the way.
That's right.
I think, that's how you and I linked up, and
yes.
that's like the mutual friend that we have, he's very talented at what he does, from
man, the genius, man.
To a production perspective, and I think when you guys first came out with your first album, you got a really good reception overseas. Do you remember what was the first song that you recorded professionally?
The first song that I recorded professionally, I want to say it must have been what was it called? Pretty Lady. I think Pretty Lady.
Okay.
It was off that album. And it was actually the coming together of SSOL. Okay. Prior to that, I was doing everything just kind of solo. And when we did that song, that was kind of the one that kind of, opened up our eyes that there was a possibility of something else other than just, throwing some music together.
Yeah.
And it was off that album that you were talking about, the California Coastin'.
Now, tell me a little bit more about how SSOL, Smooth Styles of Life, came together, because you and Panch, have blend well together. But tell me, at which point did you guys decide, okay, we're gonna do this as a group?
So the way that came about is Little Panch is my homeboy's younger brother. So I've known Little Panch since he was a little kid, man. His
Yeah.
whole family, I watched them grow up. So I remember him coming to me. He was young. He started young anyways, but I think he was like 12, 13 around there. And he told me like, I want to rap. So
Right.
he spit his rhymes, and they were dope, but he still needed some work at the time. Well, he came back when he was 15, and he goes, "Hey, homie, I want to rap."
Yeah. Still want
like,
to rap.
yeah, Simon, like I want to rap. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I at that time, that's when we did that song, the Pretty Lady song,
Okay.
and he rapped his bars for me on that one, and I said, "Oh man, this dude got good, man. Like
Yeah.
this
He's
dude."
been practicing.
Yeah, man, those 2 years or 3 years, whatever it was, like it,
Yeah.
it, it did him good, man. So we put that together. I brought him into the studio, took him into Beebs' house. We record him, and as soon as we record him, Beebs right away looked at me and he said, "Bro, you guys need to make a group, man. You guys need
That's
to,
right.
So we did. From there on out, it was I started put my thinking cap on, and I said, you know what, we need a name. We need a name. So I got to it. With the help of a few people, started putting some ideas together, and SSOL was born.
That's right. That's right. And why do you think you settled in on SSOL, which stands for
SSOL.
Smooth Styles of Life?
Styles of Life. Yeah. So the reason why I settled in on SSOL, we're from the 805 area. I've
Okay.
always been a fan of Triple C, CLS, Sarah
Yeah.
S. Those were my idols growing up. I was listening to them and wanting to be like them. They were representing the area, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, it was crazy to me. So I realized what they kind of did. Triple C, Central Coast Click,
Yeah.
CLS, Cali Lifestyle. So I
Yeah.
said, not biting, but I said I want to have an acronym as well.
Hmm.
So went home and started doing some research, and I was jotting a bunch of stuff down. A bunch of acronyms, different meanings. So as I'm thinking, this commercial comes on the TV. It's a Coca-Cola commercial,
Okay.
and at the time, this was around 2005. So this commercial comes on and it says, "Enjoy the smoother side of Coke." That was the slogan that they had.
Right.
For some reason, the smooth part and the smooth and the side kind of like stuck in my head.
Yeah. Sparked something, huh?
Sparked something, bro. So then I started just going, and then I came up with Sol. Originally, that was my first idea, was Sol. Kind of like Quinto Sol, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Sol, just Sol.
Right.
So I said, that I'm gonna go with that. Once I did a little bit more thinking, I said, nah, it's got to be something a little bit more universal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Soul, people that don't speak Spanish, they're not really gonna know, and they're gonna be like, well, soul, where these guys sun god worshippers, or
Yeah.
like, well, what are they doing? So I
Yeah.
said, okay. So I went from there, and just by messing with that acronym SSOL that originally stood for that,
Yeah.
I came up with Smooth Styles of Life. So
Nice.
it went from just doing some thinking to watching that
Yeah.
TV commercial, and
Yeah.
it came up that way.
And that's how SSOL was born, Smooth
That's how
Styles of
SSOL
Life.
was born.
And
Yeah,
and I think the name, with the music that you guys put out, it fits perfect,
exactly,
So, and
exactly.
I think that's one of the reasons why you guys were able to like get so many fans overseas, because the music you put out is universal. And even if there's, someone in another country who doesn't understand the language, they can feel it. They
Yes,
can feel the music that you're
yes.
putting out. Okay. And how was it? So you guys decided to put a group together. Obviously, you guys put the album together,
Mhm.
and then how do you feel that that drove you guys to be like more serious about the music? What kind of reception did you get based on that first album?
Based on the first album, it was better than what we expected. I'm gonna put it to you that way. It We made more sales than we thought we were. That we would make. The
Right.
very first press that we did on that album, it was crazy because we packaged it ourselves. We printed our covers, we shrunk wrap
Yeah.
our jewel
Yeah.
cases. All we did was pressed our actual Glassmaster.
Right.
So, we got spindles like you would do,
Yeah.
back in the day. They don't even use that no more.
CDRs.
There you go, blank CDRs. So we got, stacks of these spindles, and there we were, here in my backyard, man, just, working, cutting our covers with
DIY.
DIY with the hair dryer, shrink wrapping,
That's
doing
right.
all that. And we sold, man. We sold, which was it was crazy because we thought, yeah, we'll sell a couple albums, whatever, but it moved, which was cool. So from there, that kind of sparked that hustle,
Yeah.
that hustle just kind of got started. And it said, like, man, I said to myself, like, if we did this off just, hanging out and making some jams together, like,
Yeah.
maybe we could take this a little serious and see what we could really do,
Which one was your first album that got picked up by a distributor overseas?
The first album that got picked up was gonna be our sophomore album, the second album actually, due to the fact that I had the feature from Sarah S on it.
Yeah.
So
She's big overseas.
after we pressed that album and that album got released, she asked me for a few copies, and she did me a super solid by shooting it out to some people that she knew,
That's
and
right.
it got picked up by Cisco Music out in Chatsworth.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
was able to land the distribution deal,
Right.
and that's where it all kind of started just
And
going international.
and that's how your music started to spread overseas, especially in Japan, which is
Yes.
perfect market for the
Yeah.
kind of music
At the
that you were
time,
doing.
it was perfect. At the time, it was all that Japan wanted at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I want to get a little bit more into the music that you created after your sophomore album, and what's been going on in your life, in regards to Little Chino as a solo artist, and all the other things that the fans want to know about. But let's take a quick little break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Chicano Rap Radio,
that's
raw
right.
and uncut.
Hit us up at 805-395-6595 for your special requests, dedications, and shoutouts. Chicano Rap Radio, raw and uncut.
Welcome back to Chicano Rap Radio. We're chopping it up with Little Chino of SSOL, Smooth Styles of Life. We've been talking about how he got his name, how he got into the music, how he linked up with, a hometown, genius of music, Beeps, aka J Kings, and that kind of started the journey of SSOL. And then we were also talking about his first album and his follow-up album that got picked up by a distributor and introduced their music to a lot of fans overseas. Where we left off, we were talking about your sophomore album. How did you follow it up? Because you've had several albums since you started, and then eventually you went into the doing your own solo album. Tell me a little bit more about the other albums, who you worked with, and let's bring the fans current to your most recent release as a solo artist, Little Chino, Smooth Styles of Life.
For sure, man. So the third album that we dropped as SSOL was after we had that overseas hype. So once we kind of saw what the market was, what they liked, what they were into, we decided to make a all old school album, all samples, going back to the genius of Beebs, and the just the knowing of what sample to use, what sample to what song to pick, what part of, and bring it all together with our lyrics. It just came together to where we did Back to the Old School. That was a all sample album specifically catered for Japan.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the one that has the cover of you and Little Panch like standing around a bunch of
Records,
vinyl, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for sure. So so on that one, I was actually able to complete another thing off my bucket list, which was work with a couple of the artists that I grew up listening to. I was able to get Dominator from Triple C.
Yep.
We had
Deluxe.
Sarah S again. We had Deluxe, and we had T Drake. So we had CLS on there as well.
Nice.
Couple other features as well. Everything just kind of brought that album together and gave us that push to continue doing what we were doing.
Now, what was that on that album? You also worked with another artist out of the Street Hustle Records camp, which is Little Vandal. Was that the
Yeah.
first album that he was on with you guys? Or
Um,
is there another album that I might have
Little
missed?
Vandal was the very first song Little Vandal was on with us, was actually on the prior album, Can't Knock
Can't
the
Knock the
Hustle.
Hustle. Yep.
Yeah, he did his feature debut off that album right there. So the Back to the Old School album was the second album that we
Okay.
showcased them on.
And that was 805 Getting Down, right?
805 Getting Down,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
That's a classic right there. Anybody out there,
Thank you, bro.
listening to us, if you haven't treated yourself to 805 Getting Down by SSOL featuring Little Vandal, make sure you check it out. So tell me a little bit more about the follow-up albums that you guys did. So you did Can't Knock the Hustle, and then you did the Back to the Old
Back to the
School,
Old School.
and then you followed that up with West Coast Certified. Is that correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
the next album that we did was West Coast Certified. On that album, I was able to link up with a bunch of different producers internationally now. Now that we had that little connection, making fans overseas. Besides Japan, we made a lot of fans and lovers of music that we linked up with in Italy and in France. So at this time, I was linking up with a few producers out in Italy. They go by Dog Free and J Loke. These guys at the time were also into the funk. They're doing the talk box, doing all the stuff that we were doing at the time. So we linked up. I liked their style. I bought a couple beats off of them. We did business first. That's kind of like the way that I like to do my things. I do business. Let everybody know that we're legit and we're here to work. And if we vibe, then it becomes more of a family thing.
Right.
And that's kind of what we did with a lot of these people overseas. Some of them I've met in person. Others, we've only just worked, over internet. But it's, you listen to the music and you wouldn't know the difference.
Right.
You would
Still
think
family,
that,
still love.
exactly. You would think that all these guys got in the studio together and they put out this one record right here.
Yeah. The beauty of technology,
There you
that
go,
you can
bro.
work with another artist who wants
Exactly,
to
from
work with you
across the
overseas.
world,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, bro.
And so
So
okay, so you did West Coast Certified,
yes,
and then you it seems to me that there was like a little pause in between before your solo album came out. Is that correct?
yeah, yes, there was. So we did West Coast Certified. West Coast Certified, I want to say came out in '09, I believe, '08,
Yeah.
'09, around there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we did a Return of the West.
Yeah.
We did a Return of the West in, I want to say, 2013. Took a little pause. The reason for that being is after West Coast Certified, CD sales stopped. That's
Yeah.
when the whole digital era hit
Streaming and
us.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly, bro. That's when that hit us. And just being some young entrepreneurs, not really knowing the game that well, kind of treading the waters, but not really, really knowing. That kind of threw a curveball at me.
Mhm.
So I had to kind of just restructure, kind of rethink, see what was going on, see where we were gonna head, what direction we were gonna head into. So it took some time to kind of figure it out, because I didn't want to just put anything out there. I've never been the type of artist that just wants to just put out music just for the fact of putting out music.
Yeah.
I want to put out music that the fans are obviously going to enjoy at all times.
Okay.
So that was the reason for that pause. Did that in 2013. I was still kind of being a little hard-headed with the whole physical CD thing. So I say,
You're trying to fight the current, huh?
Trying to fight it, bro. Trying to fight it. So, I saw that it still wasn't working out. So after that album, we linked up with another producer who is another sort of secret producer on my label. He goes by Funk House Productions. His name is Anthony Casillas. Shout out to the homie Anthony. We linked up with him, and he's the one that started really bringing the G-Funk into our music. His beats were all G-Funk. So we did a compilation album between SSOL and Little Vandal, featured a bunch of people from locally here as well, friends of ours, other artists that we've worked with. And I did a digital release only. That was the very first time that I tried it. I said, we'll do a digital release. That album is called Street Hustle Records Presents the G-Funk Era. There wasn't much advertising, wasn't much marketing on that album. To me, it's one of my favorite albums that we've done to this day. I would at a time like to go back and kind of show that album a little bit more love, maybe, get it remastered, maybe some new tracks, and kind of throw it out there, because not a lot of people know about that album.
And you feel that the music's so good, it deserves more shine.
I feel like it does. I feel like that was a really well thought out album. The way that this new producer came in and kind of mixed it up a little bit, it brought out certain talents in me and my guys that hadn't been broadcasted before.
Okay.
So
Okay. Now, fast forward to your solo album. When did that come out? What's the name of the album, and why did you decide to try a solo album?
So my solo album, it's titled Smooth Styles of Life. So just like our name, our acronym, SSOL. So I decided to title the album Smooth Styles of Life because it basically represents the album. The name represents the album. You listen to that album from start to finish, and it's just smooth jams that you can cruise to, that you can bump in a barbecue. Our classic sound, just with all my ideas, all my creativity put into that album.
Yeah.
Just music that I've had for years that I wanted to put out, and mixed in with new music as well.
Yeah.
That album, going solo, kind of came from a hiatus that Panch took from music for a while. We would work on music here and there, but of course, life goes on. Things happen. So the homie had other stuff going on. So I had all this music kind of just sitting there for a while. A couple of years actually. And I would go back and listen to it, and I said, something kept telling me, you got to put this out. You got to put this out. So it just came to a point where I say, you know what, I'm going to start working on a solo album. And
Right.
I started back in the day as a solo artist, but I never really put out a solo album. So I said, I'm going to test myself here.
Yeah.
I'm going to test myself, because when you're in a group, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
I remember this by having this conversation with Little Vandal all the time, because he's the solo artist on my label.
Right.
And I remember, having those conversations where she would say, it's not easy all the time to, put together a banging jam and drop 3 hot verses on it,
Yeah.
So I said, I got to test myself. I can't be giving the homie, advice or
exactly
if I'm not doing it myself.
Right.
So that's kind of how that came about. I just, just a little personal challenge mixed in with, some good music that I felt that was just sitting in the vault.
And one of the things that I really admire about what you guys have done, your camp, Street Hustle Records, and SSOL, and even Little Vandal, is that you guys have stayed true to your sound. You have stayed true to the really the Chicano lifestyle. Lowriders, cruising, West Coast, the funk, the G funk, the oldies, those are all things that are very consistent if you look back at your music, and it shows up throughout. And so that's one of the things that I admire about you guys.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Yeah. We just, we like to stay true to our roots. We like to, keep it 100. Just be real and put out the music that we enjoy listening to. Because being an artist, you have to be versatile, and you have to be able to drop a verse on anything that gets handed to you.
Right.
But when it comes to our craft, our music, it's got to be stuff that we enjoy listening to ourselves, so we have to stay true to our roots.
Well, I think you've done a really good job of that, and I want to get a little bit more into the future of Street Hustle Records, Little Chino, Little Panch, and SSOL, or anybody coming out of your camp. But let's take a quick little break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Chicano Rap Radio, raw and uncut.
Chicano Rap Radio, raw and uncut.
Welcome back to Chicano Rap Radio. We're chopping it up with Little Chino of Smooth Styles of Life. We've been talking about how he got into the music, about how he eventually, him and Little Panch, they linked up and they put out an album, put out a second album. They got distribution overseas. They worked with a lot of artists that they grew up listening to, and in a lot of ways they became peers. You also were talking about how the game changed on you. You stopped pressing CDs, and then you fought the digital era a little bit, but eventually you gave in because your love for the music just forced you to do it. You love the music, you want to continue to put out music, and that means staying with the times. Now, I also wanted to get into your new studio. You had been talking about, big things coming, and eventually I think you finished your studio. Tell me a little bit more about why you decided to either, redesign or update your studio.
So it just came to a point where you kind of look around and you said, okay, it's time for a change. So right after I dropped my solo album, it was that time where I said, okay, I accomplished what I set myself out to do. I tested myself. I manifested this. It happened. So what's next? So I started kind of looking around and I said, okay, the studio kind of needs a remodel now. I've been thinking about that for a long time. We've always been, kind of do it yourselves. We've always been, everything in camp. Like I said, starting from our very first release to, putting it together ourselves. So we've all had our own studio at all times. Little Vandal, he's not local here. He lives 3 hours away from here. So he has a studio, Beeps has his studio, Panch has his studio, I have my studio. So for me, it was a time where I needed that growth. I felt like it was time to do a little bit more. So it came about where I began the expansion, and 9 months later, here I am.
That's right.
Yeah.
And is there a bigger purpose why you decided also to remodel your studio? I mean, is there some hidden agenda that we don't know about?
There is, bro. There is. So actually, about a month ago, I opened up my studio to the public for for sessions. Vocal tracking. Some mixing.
That's right.
We're linked in with Beebs as well. He does mastering. He does mixing. So
Yeah.
we're offering services now. Recently, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of talent here in my town. So there's need for that. So I'm now opening up my doors, to a lot of the youngsters here in town, and trying to help with whatever platform that I have, whatever platform that I built, that we've created, that we have, getting them features with, a couple of my guys, with Panch, with Little Vandal. Little Vandal is a neighborhood hero to a lot of these dudes.
Yeah.
Little Vandal is a legend to a lot of these dudes. So
He gets down for sure.
yeah. So in order for me to kind of show love back to the town that kind of show love to us, is that to have the homie drop a few features for a couple of these dudes, and stuff like that. And the little secret project that I got working on, that it won't be so secret too soon, but I am putting together a mixtape. I'm working on a mixtape right now, featuring and showcasing a lot of the talent that I got going on here in my town. Local talent, yeah.
How does it feel to play a role in not only inspiring, but also, like, I feel like developing the local, like, music scene within your town?
Oh man, it feels great. It feels great. It's a position I'm finding myself that I never thought I would. When I first started making music at 17 years old, I never thought, but it's a great position to be at. I've always been a humanitarian at heart. So for me to be able to give back and help out in any way I can, it's great. And just the fact that it has to do with music, it makes it even better, man.
That's right. That's right. So I guess it's safe to say that we can expect a lot of good music and a lot of new artists coming out of the Street Hustle Records camp for
sure.
many years to come, especially
For
now
sure,
that you
for
got
sure.
your
As
studio
long as
remodeled.
my motto has always been, as long as the fans want to listen and they like what we're making, then we're going to continue making music, man, till the casket drops.
So tell me more about your compilation album that you were talking about.
So the compilation album is going to be a project that I got going with Little Vandal. Little Vandal, it's been quite a number of years since he's released any music, and the fans want it. The fans want it. So we have a lot of music that we've made together. He's got some stuff that he's working on himself as well. His next one that we talked about, it's going to be an all oldies album. That's going to be his next release as a solo artist. But that's some time down the line. So we have other stuff that we talked about. I said, we can put this out already. So it's going to be a compilation album. We're going to have some features on it like we always do, but mainly you're going to be able to hear my stuff and his stuff on almost every single track.
Okay, okay. And the compilation album that you're talking about, that's different from the upcoming mixtape, right?
That is, yeah,
Okay,
not
what's
to
the
get them
difference?
confused. So the compilation album is going to be called "The Hustle to Survive." Um, there's one single already available. iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, all that stuff. It's already out. It's titled the same, "Hustle to Survive." That one is my record featuring Sarah S.
Okay,
So you can kind of get a little sample of that already. The difference between the compilation album and the mixtape, the compilation album is going to be more of a studio, professional production type deal like we normally do. The
okay,
mixtape is going to be more of a advertisement. It's going to be more of a giveaway. That one's going to
okay.
be free music basically. So
Right, right.
like I said, it's going to be just a showcase of all the talent that's around here, and it's just going to be up for grabs. It's going to be thrown out there.
So new artists, perhaps artists that the rest of the world hasn't really heard before.
Yeah, artists that there's that they've been doing their thing, they've been on their grind, on their hustle, just like we were years back. They're
Okay,
making their names for themselves. So all I'm trying to do is just kind of open a door, open a window, give them a boost, whatever I can do for them. That's what
that's
I'm
right.
trying to do with this.
That's right. Do you have a release date or a time frame when that's going to come out?
I'm shooting for this summer
This summer.
for that mixtape. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
How many tracks are you going to have on there?
um being that it's a mixtape, I want to put as many as possible. Maybe anywhere from 16 and under, maybe.
Okay, so it's
We'll
going to be
go
like
from there.
almost like a full feature album.
Yeah,
But just
yeah.
showcase.
It'll be plenty of music for just like anything we really release. There'll be something for everybody on that album.
Okay. And is it going to be all local talent, or are you going to have any like, big name features?
I believe on this one I'm gonna stick with all local talent.
Okay.
The reason being is I want to showcase the talent that's in here.
That's right.
That mixtape is gonna be titled "The End of an Era."
The end of an
So
era.
my idea with that is not necessarily saying we're done making music, but we just flipped over to a new era. We're in the age of Aquarius now. Um, I want to say this is what we've done the past 20 years. We're in a new era. This is what my town is doing now.
That's right.
So and on this idea, it's going to be a lot more of their talent, their topics, their ideas, their themes, their
The next
melodies.
generation.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm just kind of gonna be in the background, kind of guiding it, but I want them to showcase their talents.
Can the fans expect any follow-up little Chino solo albums or any more SSOL albums?
For sure, definitely. We've talked with Panch in the past. Just timing is just always the issue, but
Okay.
we have talked about Back to the Old School Part Two.
Yeah.
Another album with all old school samples. We have songs started for that already. We've talked about the compilation as well. If he's available also to get on some of these compilation tracks that we're doing
That's right.
with Lil Vandal, I definitely want to do that. Solo albums as well. Like I said, sky's the limit, man. As long as the fans want to listen, we'll keep making music. We got stories.
What about an SSOL Japan tour? When can we expect that?
Man, that's been in the works forever, bro. We actually we had like three of those lined up back in the days, going back in time.
All right.
It was always it's about to happen, but then something would kind of derail it.
Okay.
Shout out to the homie 2J out in Japan. He was making one of those things happen. We got a couple of tracks with him as well on
That's
various
right.
albums. That's the homie right there. That's one of the artists that I met personally. He's been here to to this location, and through music. A person from another side of the world I met through music. So that's still in my book a major goal that I would like to
Okay.
reach. So hey, if
I think it
anybody's
would do
listening,
good.
so if
Yeah.
anybody's listening, hey,
We're looking for sponsors. Send
yeah,
all your
right.
money to at Chicano Rap Radio or SSOL.
Let's make it happen.
That's right. Any last words for the fans before we end the interview?
Well, I just want to say thank you, man. I just want to say thank you to all the fans, anybody that's ever listened, shared, bought, streamed, any way that they listen to music nowadays, man. Anybody that's ever showed love to our music, enjoyed our music, you know, even the ones that are hated the music, you know, at least they had something to say.
Yeah, that's right.
We catch their ears in one way. So I just want to say thanks, man. Thanks to everybody that, you know, that helped out along this journey. We started this journey many years ago, man. Just, you know, a couple of dudes from the neighborhood, just, you know, just friends hanging out and just having a hobby, and we never thought it was going to turn into this, man. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to all of our families who supported. Thank you to all our friends, everybody that, you know, showed support since day one to us, man. I just want to say
That's
thanks.
right.
And like I said, as long as people want to listen, we'll keep making music, man.
That's right. Well, thank you for making the time to join us and, you know, telling your story. Big shout out to SSOL. Big shout out to little Chino and, you know, little Vandal and Panch and your whole camp. You know, we appreciate it. We're going to continue to support your music. If you haven't treated yourself to a lot of the big catalog of music that they have, definitely go look them up right now on all digital streaming platforms and stay posted because, you know, they're not done making music. You're listening to Chicano Rap Radio, raw and uncut.
Chicano Rap Radio, raw and uncut.